It's hard to watch a parent die. I was the only one in the room. It was pretty tough, but I got to say things to her that we said everything before she went. So that was nice. She was a real fighter. There was times where I thought that she couldn't go on, and she went on for like another year.
I just come home from work, and he called me to say that my dad died. He was dead. He had a heart attack. My mom found him. It was really like a bomb had gone off. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't comprehend that that had happened. I remember very clearly flying home and going to the funeral home and spending an hour in there alone with my dad, having that valuable time with him.
My father died 4 months ago we still don't even really know the cause of death, but he had Alzheimer's. When his death occurred, we were all quite relieved, I think, for him, because he didn't have to go through the further deterioration that he had experienced, and we knew he wouldn't have wanted that. And then also just for us knowing that he was now at peace.
So he had a stroke on March the 12th, a couple of days after his 76th birthday. And when I got the phone call, my brother called, and I kind of knew. I said, he's not coming out of the hospital this time. So we made the decision to take him off life support on the 25th at about 2:30, and we stayed and watched. It might sound horrible to somebody else, but I needed to see the finality of it.
So the first few weeks were actually pretty good. Like, I went back to work, and I was, feeling like I could accomplish some things and think and actually get some stuff done, And then, but it was kind of the calm before the storm, or the eye of the storm, I like to say. So.
I basically just didn't sleep for 9-10 weeks. I went that long without having 8 hours of sleep. And that, my body didn't like that. I physically started getting ill. Concentration was terrible. It took me 20 minutes to make a slice of toast. The simplest of tasks just didn't work.
It was complete despair and complete shock, just walking around and not believing that this is really real, that you can cry for days and it just rolls into the other, and this really happened. Is he really gone? Is he really not here anymore? Not here in my mom's house. He's not coming back. His things are here, but he's not here. We feel him, but he's not here.
I think when he actually did die, there was a relief, and there was a sense of, well, for me, maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I'm not grieving as much as I should. And somebody had said, well, you have really done a lot of your grief work during the years of his illness. And for me, that was really quite comforting. Like, okay, I wasn't doing it wrong.
Me being the oldest, and the culture that I'm from, the Caribbean, I was expected to kind of step up to the plate and let's get this done. And anger, frustration. I can't even cry. I went in work mode, did what I had to do, made the calls I had to call, dealt with coroners, dealt with funeral home arrangements. I had to think like that. I had to think like I was at work, or else I would not have made it through the first 24 or 48 hours. And then it was afterwards that I crashed, but I had to do it like that.
I couldn't think. I really had a fog head. I would get attacks of emotions, and just start to break down and cry, and it's and I wasn't enjoying a lot. Like, I didn't have the motivation to do anything.
You can't anticipate what you're going to feel or really prepare for it. Like, you may think you know how you're going to react, but when it actually happens, it could be totally different. And for me, I'm kind of a person who likes to be in control and kind of know what to expect. And so because I didn't really understand what I was going through at the time, I think that made it a little bit more uncomfortable for me.
I think what I learned with the grief, everyone says it's a process and it's a circle, and you can go back, you can go forward, and you can go back and go forward. I think you zigzag. You're all over the place. I mean, you can be civil. You're all over the place. And I think society says that's wrong, and it's not. I think you feel like you're losing your mind because you cannot figure out why you're all over the place. And that, well, I should be past this. My grief should be moving on to the next step. And I don't think people realize that grief is all those cycles in one. And that's normal.
No one wants to talk about it. It's not very open. It's very quiet, and people, kind of shove it under the rug. Oh, you're still dealing with that, like. So I didn't know anything. This is the way it always was, You kind of just, oh, he died. People die, and like it's not set up to. Our society is not set up to deal with it. I don't think. Like, people aren't comfortable talking about it, and they don't know how to talk about it.
And I had the picture with me of Dad, and I had my things with me, and I was just in a complete state of shock. And I was crying my eyes out at the airport with a room full of people, and no one said a word. No one. Nobody said a word. And I still think to this day, I know it's part of understanding people don't know what to do and don't know how to react to you and don't know what to say, so they say nothing.
Having people say it's God's way is not helpful. I am spiritual, but to have people say that, not a smart thing to say.
Things such as, oh, it was your dad, it was okay, it's meant for him to go before you. Comments like that, well, it's okay, it's his time, or, kind of slighting it because he was my parent and not a child. Or I guess I just felt diminished in that way, that they were trying to diminish the loss. Because to me, I felt that it was a loss no matter how it happened or who it was or what age the person was.
There's not a day that goes by I don't think of something that my mom did or my mom would have liked, or I think about my mom every day, if not, 10 times a day. And I really... I think, well, what would she say? What would she do? And I'm really, I think, trying to maybe carry on or, I don't know, be more like her to some extent. Like, she was a very, very kind person and really always giving, and she was just wonderful. So I'd like to pass that along. And I still do a lot of things that she used to do and we used to do together. And that brings me comfort, too.
We talked about Dad, and we talked about, oh, Grandpa would have really liked this, and remember when he built sand castles with the girls when they were little. So there was a lot of what I call memory embraces, and that's sort of my term for when things come up that are like a loving memory of the person who died. And we were able to just talk about that, and sometimes we cried and sometimes we laughed, but it was all okay. And it was really, I think it was really healthy for my nieces to be able to see my mom and my sister and I deal with this as well, and to invite them into that whole process. They weren't excluded from that, from the tears and the laughter and the anger that we had about his illness.
Everywhere was a trigger, someone's hand that looked like Dad's, or someone fishing that looked like Dad, or, someone in the store that looked like Dad walking away, or those kinds of things. And I think, well, can't this just stop? Is it always going to be like this, where I'm going to see him everywhere?
from a young age, I would bake with my mom. I don't know, it's kind of silly. My dad would want me to go work in the shop or something, and I'd be like, you know, I think mom needs some help with some cookies, or you know, help with supper. So that's something that I like to do.
I've always said I'm my father's daughter. We were a lot alike, like our thinking, and I did a lot of helping him build the boat. Like, he built it in our backyard, so I was the one out there helping him with the hammering and welding and all those kinds of things. And so I think that's probably the biggest role that I have, is being his daughter. And there's been, for us, little symbols. Like, the week before he died, I kept seeing these bunches of butterflies, white butterflies, just coming at my car, or when I was walking, just like groups of white butterflies. And then when he died, we all noticed a single butterfly would kind of join us on the journey wherever we're getting out of the car, we're going to the funeral home, we're at the cemetery. There's always like a white butterfly sort of joining us. You know, well, that's Dad saying hello, and, you know, just letting us know that he's okay.
I remember going back to work, and some days just sitting in there, and I remember crying one whole day from 8 to 5 in there. And thinking, what am I doing, you know? But yet I just felt I needed to continue with my life the best I could. When I look back now, I wish that I had taken more time.
So coming back to work was really therapeutic for me. And I realized after probably about 3 months, I thought, oh my goodness, I think I've sort of been on slow motion in a way, and I thought I was going to work. I mean, I know I was going to work. I thought I was doing the work as I had before, and then I realized I don't think I was. And I think my brain wasn't as working as well as it had prior to my dad's death, but I wasn't really aware of that.
The people that I worked with at the time were tremendously supportive and understanding of the difficulty that I was going through after the loss of my dad. Whether it was just a hug or a kind word, or, you know, let's go out for lunch, or any little thing like that. It was a tremendously meaningful experience. Or making a card when an elderly gentleman made a special card for me, and you know, just coming to say hello and how are you and is there anything you need, was tremendously helpful and kind.
You know, everybody's grief is different, but I'm going to tell you that it's hard, and it's normal. Our society's not set up to deal with it. You'll probably find that a lot of people, you'll maybe walk in a room, people don't know how to deal with it. They will be uncomfortable towards you, you'll be uncomfortable. They will maybe say a few things, maybe not say anything at all, and then maybe kind of avoid you. It can be really, really awkward and make you feel even more isolated. But it's normal, and you have to talk about it.
I found that extremely difficult to re-enter anything family. So I remember Thanksgiving, it's like we're going out to a restaurant. I am so not sitting down at the table and having a Thanksgiving dinner. And even Christmas, I think I hyperventilated about Christmas for weeks. The idea of Christmas, I didn't care less. I wouldn't have cared less. If I didn't have my kids, there would have been nothing up for Christmas. There would have been no trees, there would have been no decorations, nothing. And I think I held off until the 23rd before I physically decorated the house, because I knew that was important to my kids.
Before, like, it was usually when I call home, I'd be talking with my mom, because she was the one that was ill. I talked to my dad for a few minutes, how's things going, good, good. But now I can really have longer conversations with my dad. maybe those conversations that he would have had with my mom too. So, you know, sometimes I get tired of it and I'm just like, you know, I kind of want to go, but then I realize, you know, he's got something to say.
My sister, my mom, and I are so completely different. It's really quite remarkable. And what I think was really wonderful is that we could talk about our own belief systems and what Dad believed, and share the differences, but also find the similarities.
A big part for me was understanding my brother, my sister, and how I could understand that we all grieve in different ways, and just because they couldn't talk about certain things, or I thought they should be doing more for my mom, they were grieving in their own way, and maybe they just weren't able to do certain things or look at certain things or help Mom with certain things because they weren't able to do that. And that gave me a great depth of understanding to realize that we all grieve in different ways.
I read an article the other day, and it talked about how there really is no one grief process, just like there really is no one way, no one pattern of how you love someone, that your love for someone is unique just as how your grief for someone is unique. So honor that, and don't expect that your process is going to be the same as anyone else's. And for me, it was kind of about realizing what I needed to do and realizing what my mom and my sister needed to do, and that was all okay. I didn't have to be the same as them, or I didn't have to expect that they would be the same as me, but just let everyone have the freedom to do it their own way, and to understand that they're doing what they need to do. And I think if we can all be easier on ourselves and on those who are grieving with us and alongside us, then that's a really wonderful way to show our own love for them and for the person who's gone.